Hello and welcome again to our monthly edition of the Tom Salta Masterclass live series. I am joined here with my all of my friends here from the TSMC courses. Joined live for some discussions about the topics of everything with regard to video game music and music production in general and composing and tech and everything in that ecosystem. So welcome everyone. How are you all doing today? Good? All right, cool. We got Chris, Catherine, Greg, Toby, Juan, Pablo, and Ken. Cool. And for all of you out there that are watching this, if you're curious as to how to be part of this, all you have to do is go to the masterclass website, the tomsalta.com/masterclass. And if you sign up for any of the flagship courses there, Game Music Essentials or Scoring AAA Deathloop Edition, you are eligible to join us once a month for this open-ended discussion and critiquing and demo derbying and all of that fun, good stuff. All right, so check it out, tomsalta.com, and then you can just go to the Masterclass tab. And I believe, Chris, don't we have some coupons that we're going to be throwing out there for the next few days or something?
We sure do. Up until midnight Sunday, 20% off of any of the flagship courses or bundle.
Great. So 20% off, and that code will be, we can post it later unless you have it now.
Yeah. Yes. So for Game Music Essentials, we've got GME-Spring22.
Okay.
For Deathloop Edition, we got DL-Spring22.
Right.
And unsurprisingly, for the bundle, BDL-Spring22.
Great. Perfect. So, cool. What we can do is we can put that in the chat on YouTube. So those of you who are watching this live on YouTube, if you do want to join the discussion and have any questions, you can type your questions there. I'm going to prioritize the people that are here with me live right now. But if we can get to your questions, I'm happy to do so. So welcome those of you who are watching. All right. So cool. So the first part of this, we're going to jump into some submissions from the students today, and we're going to go through and listen and critique. And the really point of this is to lead some encouraging, constructive advice that can help you guys in whatever areas you are looking to improve upon. So before we start that, I always like to ask this kind of question because it does change for all of us week to week, month to month. What, if anything, are you guys struggling with right now? What is something that is perhaps an obstacle in your musical endeavors or career composing or tech or anything like that? Does anyone have anything that jumps out at them that they're like, besides work and getting work and all that kind of stuff? Anything? All right, well, if you think about it, let me know. Let's jump into...
I got an interesting one. Choosing the right chord progression.
Choosing the right chord progression. Well, choosing the right chord progression is slightly different than creating one that maybe you've never heard before or something like that. As far as choosing progressions, I'm not one that has a vocabulary of chord progressions in my head that I'm like, okay, here's my 50 chord progressions or whatever it is. I'm always trying to look and explore. And when it comes to chord progressions, it's something that, especially when you're trying to be original and you're working on something new, there's always a balancing act between something that is catchy and somewhat familiar, but also new and different. And I approach it really non-scientifically. When I'm creating things of any kind, but let's just talk about chords, a lot of times my fingers will kind of naturally go down to certain shapes that, my brain is just accustomed to, but I often don't really know what they are. Plenty of my friends and colleagues are like, "Oh man, I love the way you use that, 13 that sus13 or this diminished ninth. I'm like, you know what? I don't really know. But what I do know, instead of just being random about things, you can kind of find something that sometimes I'll sing it out in my head like, da, da, bum, and I'll just kind of do the individual notes and I'll try to feel it out. But then sometimes there's some fun discoveries. So if you kind of take the finger, and you kind of move one finger up or down a key, or this finger up or down a key, and that you'll start to get related chords that are like, ooh, that's kind of neat. And you just kind of explore around. I mean, look, that's me, okay? But some people are going to be laughing at me and like, yeah, whatever. I went to Berkeley, top of my class, and I can, and that's great, cool. But for me, that's the way it works, and so far so good. So I'd say just don't be shy of doing things that you're not sure what they are.
I think I fall upon that as well, because when I get too technical, I feel I start freezing, like my brain just kind of gets stuck.
Yeah, that's right. So you
like
got to
turn a combination of both.
It's really you got to kind of turn off the left side of the brain sometimes. In fact, mostly all the time when you're creating, and just feel it out. But those are some techniques that'll kind of speed up the process, as opposed to just kind of random closing your eyes and just slapping your fingers on the keyboard. I mean, so anyway, but that's a good question. I don't think I've ever been asked that. So thank you. All right, cool. So we're going to start with you, Pablo. You submitted earlier today. I have an assignment from you. So you want to tell us, set this up for us. Tell me what we're going to be listening to.
So the previous assignment you reviewed was the Space Scene score that was overscored and somehow disjointed.
Yep.
So after your comments, I went to the opposite extreme. So this one, I try to go very simple. One simple chord moving around its diatonical whatever, and very, very try to keep it without going too crazy on it. And hopefully, I felt like I felt more connected to this second version than the first one.
Great.
It was felt more like it was in sync and more intimate.
Great.
In a way. So I think maybe it worked out. I don't know. Let's see what you.
All right, great. So let me see if I can share this screen. Oh, no, sorry. Wrong button. Where it is. Here it is. Okay, cool. So let's see. All right. Let me put this here. Now, to fill everyone in, what we're looking at is a video that was created by the folks at Heaviosity. They were doing a little feature where they would have two people score the same video. So they created something that myself and then David Frazier were going to go and create music to. And we were not privy to what each other was doing, and we would usually use, Heaviosity products and then listen to the results, look at the results, and then discuss it with each other. And it was really fun because it really shows you how there's so limitless possibilities. In a previous session, Pablo did submit some work, and I did critique it, and I'm glad that he's back here giving it another go. And let's listen and watch what you did, and we can kind of talk about it.
Are you sharing the screen right now?
I should be. Okay. You guys right here might be not sharing the screen. Let me see if you can see it. It's on YouTube, but it wasn't here. Let me see if this works. Now you guys can see it too, I think.
I see a 3.
That's it.
Right.
Okay. Interesting chord. Okay, that was definitely a different approach. I remember the last one you did, and it's cool because I mean you did definitely change the emotional aspect of it. However, I will say that I did feel once again a disjointedness from between the picture, the story, and what I'm listening to. I don't know how much a part of it the acoustic guitar was, but when I'm looking at that space scene, I'm in a space. The guy's in a space capsule. His life is passing before his eyes. He's remembering his love, and then you see the meteors approaching. I mean, listening to the music, it almost felt like I was in a campground, in the Southwest somewhere, and there's a fire burning, and maybe someone's talking, and it just didn't feel like the right music for that, the right mood for it. What was good about it is that there was a continuous theme, or there's a continuous thought to it. It didn't jump around and change a lot. But I think the choice was wrong, and it also didn't really catch any of the hit points. So what I would say is, you have the original. I believe you saw it, and it is out there on YouTube. I would go out there and watch it closely, and maybe start by copying it exactly. Listen to one that you like and copying it. I find that imitation always is the greatest teacher. It certainly has been my greatest teacher. So I think that's probably a good way to start, and then you will yourself begin to see why things work and why things are not working. So I hope that helps. All right.
Super. Thanks.
Cool. All right. Excellent. All right. We have next up. We have Ken. How you doing, Ken?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Great, man.
So this is a theme from a video game called Ambition, a minuet in power.
Uh-huh.
And I took Pierre's theme and decided to think of it as if he was a 1960s television show villain.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Anything else you want to say before we listen to it?
Nah.
Is there any kind of critique you're looking for in general as far as what to focus on?
Mostly just a technical music production. I mean, ideas are helpful too. I mean,
okay.
Yeah.
Great. Let's take a listen. That was fun. That put a smile on my face. That was kind of cool, man. All right. Well, definitely the time frame is right. Now, tell me a little bit more about the context of what that would be for.
The original game, Pierre is somebody who sells rumors. He takes rumors and prints them in a newspaper, and it's generally slander.
Got it.
And it's trashy French Revolution era stuff.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
French Revolution kind of stuff.
Yeah. So this takes the game takes place in the French Revolution, although obviously that is not a French Revolution version of the music.
So what's the connection with the 60s? I'm just curious. There isn't.
You watch some of the Death Loop,
okay,
of course, and sort of inspired by things, and thought, well, what would happen if this fast forwarded to the 1960s?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? That's the thing about games and movies and stories. You can have parallel universes. You can have juxtapositions of things that didn't actually exist in that time, and put them in there, and so that's always kind of fun. Yeah, I didn't get the French thing. If you want to hear good, fun French '60s music, remember the Queen's Gambit. It has a nice playlist of stuff in there too, or of course, obviously going back in history and listening to it. But it was fun. It was lighthearted. It kind of had a little sense of humor. It didn't take itself very seriously. In that respect, it might feel a little cartoony in a little way, which might be exactly what the doctor ordered, depending on the context of the game. I don't really see it. It's always hard to listen to things out of context, but I thought it was fun. I mean, yeah. I think that at that point it's just a question of studying, and studying the music, the genres, and finding themes and chords and grooves that speak to you, that get you really excited. That's one thing I always try to take advantage of is, Deathloop or anything else, is when you listen to it, there's certain riffs and things that are like, ooh, that's really cool. Same with like Ocean's 11, right? It's not exactly the same, but it definitely has that throwback, I think 60s, right? Isn't that kind of 60s or early 60s or late 50s throwback jazz? I forgot the composer, but it's brilliant work. And there's just grooves. I just want to keep listening to it. Hookiness, things like that. That just takes time and experimentation, and so, but fun. I'd say success for what you were going for. Cool.
Thanks.
All right, you got it. Cool. Now you'll notice, because you submitted, and you're welcome to submit more each time. Due to a technical limitation, I have to choose something that says reject submission. This way it opens the slot up for you to submit more. It's not me rejecting it. It's just that if I approve it, then you can't submit any more in the future. Technical limitation right now. All right, cool. Next up we have Greg. Hey, Greg.
How's it going?
How you doing, man?
I'm good.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I'll give you a little introduction to what we're about to listen to.
Great, please.
So this is like a full orchestra, but like a Baroque orchestra.
Oh.
Thing that I did. It's a one of my students has a Baroque guitar, and this is a piece from a composer back in like the 1600s. Is Robert Debussy, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a part of one of those suites that my student played the guitar part, and right. We did it to a click track, and I'm going to event. This is kind of like a demo, but so it's funny. I put quite a bit of time into getting like all the instruments. It's just like this guitar piece, and then I just came up with like a passage. I orchestrated what I thought would sound really cool with it. So it's like a rough demo. So it's like I put together this Baroque orchestra. It's got just a kind of disclaimer about it, because it's not complete.
Yeah.
It has no automation, no dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought I'd show you guys, and so it's like sometimes the guitar's too loud, sometimes it's too quiet. Anyway, and
okay.
Then it's just basically I intend to do all those things to it. But I also just this last week I had my student do a rubato with it. So it's like I wanted a free time, so I'm going to map the tempo, and then hopefully all my MIDI notes. It's like a mock, it's a mock,
yes.
Obviously, orchestra. That's pretty much it. And
okay.
So yeah, check it out.
Great. Take a look. Here it comes. Renaissance-y, right? Medieval. Ta-da!
Well, yeah.
Cool. You know, I like. I see what you're saying as far as it not being a complete production.
Yeah.
It's further along than I thought based on your description. I think the biggest problem with the current state of it, besides the levels, it's not just the levels, but I'm not sure what string libraries you're using. Do you care to share that?
Oh yeah, sure. It's got the signed version of what is it called? It's the Berlin solo strings, but I also have it blended with cinematic studio strings.
Okay. So, how much are you using expression and modulation wheels?
None. That's the thing.
Okay.
Because the thing was, because I was going to do rubato, I was like, I'm not going to do the automations yet. It's just sort of a work in progress for that. And I definitely want to do that to make it kind of like come to life, because it's straight out of the box.
You know, a lot of it you can perform as you're playing it. I mean, unless you're using two hands.
I totally drew it in. Like, I didn't play it at all. I just drew in the MIDI. It was pretty nuts.
Oh, you drew it.
Took a
Okay,
long time.
so what I would ask you to do is do not start by drawing in the expression stuff, right? That's your chance to bring the human factor.
Yeah.
So perform it and record. I would start with the modulation wheel, or wheel or slider. A lot of controllers, you can set it up so you can do both at the same time. What you need to do first with this kind of stuff is see how expression and modulation, let me reverse that. See how the library responds to modulation and expression. Some of them don't respond at all to either. Some don't respond to, let's say, expression, but they do respond to modulation, sometimes vice versa. So what you need to do first is understand what you have to work with. Okay? And then when you do that, you really have to almost, close your eyes and feel it. It's like, you know what I'm saying? And it has to do that. And you got to kind of just get that. If you don't get it right the first time, then stop it, rewind it, do it again. But really, that is going to make all the difference in the world. I've heard some great libraries just sound like synthy because there's no expression. They're all the samples are wide open, so there's nothing happening. It just sounds like a static, planned fake synth, and actually it's not. So that's going to make all the difference.
Sure.
In your work. And another thing I kind of liked about it is that, you are combining what I'll call a modern orchestra sound, in other words, high fidelity, rich, wide, with some medieval Renaissance-y kind of instruments. I don't know, the lute or whatever guitar, but
right.
You don't normally hear those things kind of combined, and that was kind of nice. It had a nice aesthetic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, I want to say too, I saw Chris put down the harpsichord, and I was trying it with the harpsichord, and I didn't want it to be so baroque. It was like,
right.
I was like, it was just kind of like taking license with it. It was just like, okay, I'm going to make it a little bit more modern, but not somewhere, I don't know, just in between or whatever. But yeah, it was cool with a little bit of harpsichord, but it just obviously so puts it back in that time.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think it was kind of nice. Your choices there were nice. I've used harpsichord once in a while on some stuff, and yeah, sometimes it's exactly what you need, and sometimes it's just like, but I'd say usually it doesn't work. And
Sure,
also, now that we're talking about libraries, I also do want to point out and remind everybody. Let me see if I could show this. But if you have purchased any of the courses from the Masterclass series, you are eligible for these humongous discounts, student discounts. In fact, we just added one that's not live here right now, but we will put it up. We're talking 50% off Arturia, 50% off Cinesamples, 30% off Heaviosity. You don't have to wait for Black Friday, folks. So take advantage of this. You're a student here. Take advantage of it. If you have any questions, just go to the website and you just click on Learn More, and it will show you what you need to know. Okay, so I just wanted to take this opportunity to remind you all that you can you can take advantage of some really good savings here as a student. All right, cool, Greg. Good.
Thank you.
You got it, man.
Thanks for the advice there.
Of course. All right, next up we got Toby. Hey, Toby.
Can I say something before we move on, Tom?
Of course you can, Chris.
I've noticed somebody in YouTube is really enjoying the student submissions, and I was thinking it might be nice maybe to mention their social channels where people can listen to more of their music.
Oh, great. Yeah, of course. Absolutely. So, if you're referring to social channels that each of the attendees here might have for themselves, right?
Yeah, just if they've got a Twitter or YouTube or something where people can hear more of their music, it might be nice.
Sure, great. Yeah, absolutely. If anyone here would like to share their channels or SoundClouds or websites or whatever, feel free to mention it so that others here can explore and discover more about you. Sure, absolutely. Greg, was there anything you wanted to?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you want to? I have my website's just gregbrace.com. I could put that in YouTube. I'm on there right now.
Yeah, sure. Feel free to jump in on the comments.
You guys too.
Yeah, absolutely. If anyone here goes to YouTube,
I'll just share that.
If anyone here, as part of the live session, goes to YouTube, all I say is just mute the sound on it, because you're going to get this kind of long feedback loop. All right. Sounds good. Cool. All right, let's see. Next up, let me see what we got. Oh, yeah, Toby. Yeah, we were already switching to you. So,
hi.
Hello there.
Just while we're on the subject of discounts, Tom.
Yes.
If you could hook me up with a 50% off, 90% off a CS80, I will love you forever.
A Yamaha CS80?
Yeah, they go for about $120,000, I think.
Well, why not get the Arturia brand and you can get 50% off of it?
It's a question of the tactile aspect. Yeah, actually, no. That said,
the tactile aspect to get a good controller. Do you know how much money those things are? Forget how much they are to buy. To repair those things, if you can even find someone to repair it.
Yeah, but it's like driving a spaceship, isn't it?
It is.
One day, soft it. Sorry, back on topic. So there's, as ever, this is just a sort of hypothetical brief that I've given myself. Very bleak dystopian sci-fi game, possibly on some unknown exoplanet. It's like a rescue mission, sort of getting someone out of somewhere. It's sort of mid-level intensity escape sequence. My main point of feedback is, so I've been working a lot on trying to get things to loop seamlessly,
right?
And I'm very happy with that. But I for me, like, something I'm really aiming for at the moment is getting that balance between keeping it interesting over time, but not like changing too much.
Yes, right.
So almost trance-like, but maintaining interest, especially if you're going to get stuck on this level and you're going to have to listen to it for hours or whatever. There's not much of a mix there, but any mixing tips as well.
Sure.
I welcome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Yeah, I mean, it's always the thing, right? Especially with game music, is how do you kind of keep it in a place and make it ever evolving and fresh, but not going too far. You know, that's always the
exactly.
thing.
Not breaking the suspension of disbelief, keeping people in the zone, and maintaining a constant vibe.
Okay.
Given,
yeah.
The level.
All right. Well, let's take a listen to this. Now, we might not listen to the whole 2 minutes and 45 seconds of it, but
Sure.
I'll hop around if you'd like me to. Four bars. Now let's do change. Maybe a breakdown. Ah.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's starting to get monotonous because you have the beat.
Yeah.
I mean, you're varying up some of the notes and stuff, but the foundational's got to change. Maybe. See, that could have come sooner. Or maybe even this without the beat. And then bring the beat back in. Need another change there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. This felt like I just looped to the beginning.
Right. Okay.
And there's no shame in modulating. You can toggle between. Yeah. So already here's the thing. Yeah. Okay. So, the thing that was really one of the things that I'm hearing a lot is the little guitar, the little acoustic guitar, right? Too much. You can do a breakdown, you can do a modulation, you can do change in beats, whatever, and then you know what I mean? Why not? There's all kinds of different techniques you can do. It's not enough to just change the details in it.
Yeah. Okay.
There's got to be a fundamental focus change. All right? And it's got to be, for me, I like doing things that kind of have a pattern to it. Some kind of yin and yang. So it's like, okay, for example, let's just make it easy and say, let's just pretend we're dealing with orchestral stuff. So, we're talking about, strings and brass, right? So a classic example of what I'm talking about is if you start with all these staccato strings and these big sustainy brass, right? High staccato strings, low sustainy brass. Well, why not switch it to low sustained strings and high staccato brass, like why not switch things up so it's like it just feels like I just turned it upside down or I just went to a new chapter, but it doesn't make it feel like you're changing the cue into a different cue. It just feels like balance, like I'm ready for a change. I think you were just too conservative, what I'm getting at. You were a little too conservative with the changes. I was doing this with my fingers because I'm like, okay, I can hear you're doing like the 4 bar, then the change, and the 4 bar and change, and the 4 bar and change, which is fine.
I come from a techno background. So
right. No, I got you. So everything is, even numbers and divisions of 2.
Well, you have 2 minutes of kick drum, and then you bring in a hi-hat.
Right. And look, I came from the dance world myself. In the 90s, I was just doing dance remixes, and when I transitioned into games, one of the first composers who I really started paying attention to was Bill Brown. And Bill's wonderful. What an amazing composer. And he was doing a lot of the Tom Clancy things before I even got involved in any of those titles. And one of the things I really that caught my attention, because it was new and unfamiliar to me, is how many changes there were in the music. I'm like, wow, it just keeps evolving and keeps changing, and it's really good. So I would go out there and study, listen to some scores that you like. Check out some of Bill Brown's original stuff from back, in the day when he was doing the game stuff, because that's what we're focusing on right here. Feel free to listen to scores by many other composers. Of course, my stuff is out there. And study it. Listen, what am I doing? What is changing? I'm a big fan of analyzing things and noting what the musical recipe is, or how it's done, what the formula is, and then adapt that to yourself.
Well, thank you very much, Tom. That's some good food for thought there.
Sure.
I really love the Deus Ex soundtrack, Michael McCann. And the sequences, like the step sequences and the arpeggiators and stuff, I love that. And that's the problem I have with that is I started writing stuff, and then I was like, oh yeah, I'm really on something here. 2 hours later, I'm like, hang on, I sort of accidentally just plagiarized. Do you know what I mean?
So, right.
But I suppose that's a step in the right direction.
Yes.
Say imitation is there.
Yeah, absolutely it is. I mean, when you're learning, it's completely fine to plagiarize. As you're learning, you're transcribing it. That's fine. That's as long as you don't put it out that it's your own stuff. Study it, copy it. I mean, I did that naturally when I was like in 8th grade and 9th grade. I would just listen to songs and try to recreate them with my own synths, and it taught me a lot. It taught me how things are assembled and where the natural changes happen, and it taught me to learn my gear really well. So yeah, imitation. Imitate and then innovate, in that order.
Awesome. Yeah. Fantastic. That's really helpful.
And before I let you go, Toby, I gotta call up my. Let me see here. I gotta call up my CS80. Are you familiar with this one? Let me see. I'm going to see if I can share my screen for you.
Yeah.
So this guy.
Oh.
I mean, it's just a monster. But I mean, just the way it can. And it's got the ribbon. And of course there's going to be all kinds of throwbacks to Blade Runner.
Yeah.
No, that's not it, but it's a great little synth. I love this thing. It's huge. Have you ever seen one of these in person?
Unfortunately, I haven't.
I mean, these aren't even great sounds that I'm calling up here, but they are just, it's endless. I mean, it's just weird, but awesome.
That's I'll have to.
Yeah, check out the Arturia.
I've used older Arturia stuff, and I was really impressed by the analogness of it.
Yeah.
Really impressed. I don't think there's much else. I use Omnisphere a lot, and there's some wicked stuff in there. But
love Omnisphere, and in fact, Omnisphere has a lot of sample sources from the CS80.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, and you can actually find them, and it's easy to make your own stuff. You can just go into the sound sources and you can look them up, and it's just great. You can type CS80 in it, and stuff will come up, and it's just endless fun. So
Awesome.
all right, cool.
Do I have a minute for one quick question? I don't. It doesn't. It's not hugely important. I can ask you another time. It's not.
Yeah, of course. Well, that's what this is for.
Um, I was saying about listening to Michael McCann and always kind of emulating him.
Yeah.
It's not just that. And going back to Pablo's question about chord sequences.
Yeah.
I always fall into the same ones. I naturally sort of gravitate towards. I'd like to expand my horizons, and I'm not sure how to break habits. Do you have any tips on how to do something completely different?
Yes. Yeah.
Because I like my comfort zone. That's great, and I do well in there. But
yeah, well,
again,
my advice is going to be listen to the music that you really impressed with the chords and the way that's just different, and copy them, listen to them, play them. See, this is something that I'll do. I don't want to skip over it. It might seem very obvious, but when especially when I'm doing a style of music where I really want to kind of understand it and want to kind of get the DNA of it, I don't care what it is. It could be for Deathloop. It could be for, Halo, because I was stepping into something that already had a legacy to it. And I wanted to kind of make sure my stuff sounded that way. Anytime I'm trying to expand my horizons or change my, musical bucket, right? My bucket of sound, my bucket of resources, the style overall. What I'll do is I'll just copy, and I'll learn what's going on, and I'll play it, and I'll play it, and I kind of get the shapes under my hands, right? And I just kind of get it in there, and I step away, and I kind of come back and play it. And then what starts to happen is my own creativity will naturally start to synthesize things that are like that but different. I'll start to kind of create my own variations and mutations, so to speak, right? Let the evolution process take place in your creative process. So start with the source material that you want to kind of learn, understand, learn those chords. I mean, that's what studying's all about. I mean, learn it. It doesn't matter what style of music you're doing. If you're doing jazz, you need to study the greats. You need to learn those chords that they're doing. You need to learn and study and transcribe all of that. And then when you absorb it, it just kind of becomes a part of you, and your horizons will naturally expand because you have more to pull from.
Awesome.
You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. I'm going to see Tool in a couple of weeks, so I think
Tool.
That's perfect.
Wow.
Perfect research.
Great.
Obscure time signatures as well.
Oh man. That's awesome. Yeah, I know. God, I remember listening to Tool back in the day. That was some of the earliest super hard rock that I heard, and who knew that years later I'd be doing a lot of other kinds of hard rock and stuff. So it all becomes part of you, all of it. It's great stuff.
Thank you very much, Tom, and
you
thank
got
you
it.
everyone else for your patience.
Great. No, we're good. We have time, so we're up to you, Catherine. Welcome.
Hi.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you just great.
Awesome. So I think what I submitted is something that I think ties into a lot of what everybody was talking about today, which is kind of like how to get something new out of your box, new ideas, things like that. So what I submitted was something that was, I had a prompt that was kind of like use a rhythm from a spoken or written line to inspire a new melodic idea. It was also supposed to be something that was supposed to be a throwback to a time machine. So I went back to ancient Rome. So I tried to get out of my box, which is usually a lot of, dirty guitar.
Nice.
And tried something different. So I took the, the Latin, which is, Sicitur ad Astra. And I totally am not saying it properly, but that's kind of it. And it translates roughly to "we go to the stars." So I tried to take that idea to work a melodic line around the rhythm of that, and to use all different instruments that I normally would not use, and listen to beats and sounds from ancient Rome. The other thing I did was I was obsessed with a little sample that I took with an exercise bike. I was on a chain, like it was like an old bike. So I sampled this sound. It was definitely not great sample. I just took it from my iPhone, and I like that rhythm and the sound. So I kind of put that underneath it to have like to kind of like experiment with stuff because you know that was not like pre-made.
Right.
So I did that, and so that's kind of like underneath that, and then on top of it is this stuff that I'm normally not used to doing. So I went out of my box and I did that stuff.
How cool is that? Good for you. And the one part I missed is, was there anything in particular that this music would be intended for to be put with?
I mean, I think just maybe like, you know, an ancient something that based in like ancient Rome, you know, like maybe like an Assassin's Creed or something like that. Maybe just like a loop, you know, for setting up a scene.
Okay, you know, cool. So. And what kind of feedback are you hoping to get?
Well, I guess first of all, does it kind of capture the sound, this ancient sound, but also having the innovative, the I guess listening, but moving forward with like that like bicycle like chain rhythm that's kind of underneath it. Mm-hmm. And I'm just wondering if that like any of this stuff is making sense or coming through. I mean, it's not the mix might be able to be better. You know, I was also experimenting with like drum, you know, programming because I was playing it on a keyboard and I'm not, you know, so there's a lot of maybe feedback on just like performance, the sounds, are things like coming across in the way that I, you know, wanted them to.
Gotcha. Well, why don't we take a listen? Sounds really interesting. I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Oh, you left your click in.
That was my mistake.
I've done it.
I forgot.
I've done it. But always check your stuff before. But you didn't hear it until the end, right?
Right.
So you're like, oh, I got it. It's cool. But the click was in there.
That was part of the rhythm.
Of course. Well, there you go. It's a musical thing.
Yeah.
You meant to do that.
I did.
Of course you did.
I meant
All
to
right.
do it.
So, my thoughts. I didn't get the Rome thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, I, you know, now you mention it, I can kind of, okay, I kind of get it. But for not knowing that, if I was just a listener, I wouldn't have got the Rome thing. It kind of reminded me of some of those old adventure games, 16-bit kind of adventure games from the late 80s, early 90s. You know, it almost reminds, you know, like a top-down kind of thing, and it reminded me of like someone, like your character entering this strange bazaar. Because the music and the melody was like a little weird, right? It was a little, mm-hmm. I mean, it's memorable. It's strange, though. It's unfamiliar. And for me, it kind of felt like, that's why I was saying, it kind of makes me feel like I was in one of these adventure games where I'm in this land, you know, and I'm looking at my 16-bit graphics and, you know, I go into the bazaar. You know, kind of like a Zelda thing, but not Zelda because stylistically it's not like that. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what it reminded me of, for better or for worse. You know, it doesn't sound like that you were using modern production aesthetic. You know, it felt like, okay, we had kind of limited stuff to work with because all the sounds were very programmy and, you know, no velocity things, or it's just all very machine-like. It sounds like it's programmed music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, again, for better or for worse, but that would fit right at home for me in one of those kind of adventure situations where you're going into some kind of strange room or bazaar, or because I guess with the ringing with the tambourine, and it kind of does seem like it is like a throwback of whether it's Rome or just ancient something.
Yeah, and I guess that. And I think, like, the whole idea with the melody being weird, it's true, because I was kind of going off the Latin phrase. So I was trying to, like, create a melodic rhythm around that phrase, which, trying to smooth that out once again, because I don't speak Latin. So, but that was what, and so it is weird, but,
yep.
Right.
Well, it kind of worked. And yes, we got Ken was saying Quests of Camelot or Quest for Glory 2. Yeah, I think those are the kind of games in the era I'm referring to. Yeah, Sierra Online. Yeah, totally. Yep. That's what I was thinking. So, again, for better or for worse, I think that's what it is. What I do love about it and your stuff in general is it's so different. It's like, wow, I would have never thought of that. I would have gone anywhere near that. So it's really, I love the out-of-the-box creativity that you have, and I think you should work with it because it's definitely one of your strengths. All right, so I'm going to reject this so you can submit more work next time. Cool, so we're almost out of time here, but I do want to kind of open it up to the group and see if there's any other questions pertaining to anything we've discussed today or anything we haven't discussed today. And if not, then I'm just going to call up the CS80 and start playing some sounds. Oh, by the way, I do want to mention, good, I got some questions there. The codes again to get those really great discounts, which I'm going to try to show you here. Anyone who's a student can get these really amazing discounts on stuff, including Arturia, which we were just showing just a minute ago. 50% Arturia, Cinesamples, 30% of Heaviosity, XLN Audio, 30% Project Sam, 20%, and there's more to come. We have to add some more this week. So that is really, don't miss it. A lot of students come to me and they're like, what? I get discounts? Yes, you do. So, don't forget about that. Okay, cool. So, Pablo, you had a question for me.
Yes, I wanted to ask if anybody uses audio interface to connect their gear to the DAW.
Yeah.
And which one do you use?
All right.
I'm searching for one. And
I'll start. I like the Apollo, the Universal Audio Apollo, for several reasons. I like the fact that they got all these really good unison mode preamps, which basically means that you can put these great models of preamps right on the input in this unison mode with no latency. So it really makes the unit transform like a chameleon into any kind of gear that you want. Not any kind of gear, but more than just a single kind of gear. And even without any of that stuff, the preamps are just great. And I'm a guy who's coming from API lunchboxes and Neve stuff. I just love the Apollo. It's great. So and you can also get the smaller ones, like the Twin or whatever it is. So it's just like 2 inputs. You don't need the 8 input ones. So that's me. Does anyone else have any enthusiastic suggestion?
I use the Antelope Orion for the same reason as you, virtual microphone, etc. But I think the comments that are floating up in chat is probably on the money with the Focusrite Scarlets. They're quite affordable.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. But what would you say about compatibility with a PC? Because I've heard the Apollos are better with Mac, but with PCs it kind of falls apart. I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know, but
I don't know if that's true, but I can't speak from experience. But I do know they are supported. They support Windows, and from what I've seen myself, working with UAD for a long time, they are not known to be glitchy. But I'm not speaking from experience when it comes to Windows use.
But I really want the UAD stuff, but I'm worried about incompatibility with PC.
I go out there and research it, and hey, you know what? You can always try it out and return it. I'm sure that could work too.
Yep.
One more question before we go. Toby, you do have a question?
I do, but do you want to give it to someone else? Because
Juan, did you have your hand up?
No.
Thank you. That's very kind of you, Toby. Did you have your hand up, Juan?
My pleasure.
Yes, but I was just going to ask something to chat something.
Okay, so
not important, actually.
No. Okay, fine then. Toby, you get it.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah, it's possibly an existential question. I find it really difficult to do simplicity, or not necessarily simplicity, but really sparse arrangement and like be confident with it. I might hear like a piece of electronic music specifically, and think, man, that's bold.
Right.
To do that. I mean,
yes.
That's an open hi-hat straight out the box from a 909. That's, there's a kick drum from somewhere, and somehow I'm like, this is glorious.
Right.
But I don't know why, and I don't have the courage to deliver something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Look, I feel your pain. I've lived your pain. I know I can verbalize that in other ways, and saying that, it's, you don't want to, you feel naked when you just do one or two things. It feels like, oh, it's not good enough. And I myself have been guilty of hiding behind the layers in my music, right? Just putting layer upon layer, and it's not good enough, so just put another layer. And I always have admired stuff that is very simple and sparse. It seems like there's a commonality with all great music, practically, across any genre, where if it's great, you can just hear it in one or two things. I mean, I don't care. Like Michael Jackson comes to mind. Like, just beat it. Book, tack, book, tack, book. Just like the song. How many friggin' times can, kicking a snare? But there's something about that kick in the snare that is just amazing. And what is it? What is it that's amazing?
What is it?
Right. Well, coming back to the studying thing, it's a case-by-case basis. When I was studying that, and I listened to the engineer, Bruce Sweden, rest in peace, one of the greatest engineers of all time, in my opinion. He mixed all those Michael Jackson things. I heard him talking about it, and, he was just using, I forgot what the actual drum kit was or whatever it was, but he really took the time to focus on the sound and not only get the EQ dialed in and the compression dialed in, but he also wanted it to feel more immersive. And I remember him saying that more three-dimensional, that he took the sound, he played the snare drum through the speakers in another room and remiked it, where he just kind of had the room sound and he kind of mixed that in a little bit. Now you're like, well, isn't that what reverb is for? Yes and no. He was using early reflections. He was using a room. So he was kind of getting the three-dimensionalness of the sound of the early reflections blended with the original sound, and it automatically takes this snare drum that's straight up the middle and just kind of makes it live, makes it come, like I'm here in the room with it. And again, it's not just as simple as just throwing reverb up on it. Now, that doesn't mean you have to remic your stuff if you don't have a room and stuff like that. In fact, there are plenty of plugins out there. I'm sure Waves makes some of them. I know Universal Audio does, like Ocean Way, where they have like the room of Ocean Way, and you can remic things, so you can like play a sound through it and automatically it kind of just brings it to life, like you just placed that kit in this room and then just remiked it close. It's interesting. Again, I mean, we can speak for hours on this, but it really does come into to study and take your time. I mean, you know, some people will work on a bass sound for an hour. Why? What are they doing? Well, they just want to kind of get it right. And for me, I learn a lot from listening, studying, and reading, you know, for decades. You know, copy it. See how close you can get it. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, right? And you'll learn, like, wow, for me to get that sound, I had to kind of put it through this, or I had to kind of put it through a flanger, and then, or I had to kind of put it through a compressor and do a sidechain thing on it. Like, whatever. There's all kinds of things that you can kind of do. And it just comes from listening and studying. You know, if you come from one world in a little box, whether it's the trance world or something else, you need to expand that box. It's endless. So enjoy the ride, enjoy the journey.
Well, I think one of my issues is that I like so many things that I lack focus.
Well,
on
time to focus. Pick one thing.
Yeah.
Focus on one thing at a time.
This is a big reason why I'm here, you know.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know what? We get overwhelmed. There's so many things I want to do, and this and that, and I'm, you know what? Fine. This week, or just today, or just tomorrow, work on one thing. One thing. And I talk about this all the time, about just, you know, put all your stuff in a single deck of cards and just look at the top card only, put the rest of the deck down, focus on that, block out whatever time it is, an hour, a day, a week, a month, and just focus on one thing at a time. You're going to get more done. You're going to get hyper focused. And that's the way it works, especially with those of us with ADD, which I think most of us have now. Anyway, all right, so that is it. We went over, which that's completely fine, but I hope this was good for everybody. Again, I want to repeat those discount codes. So if you have a pencil or something, sorry I'm not displaying it on the screen, but it is Game Music Essentials. If you want 20% off, it's GME, like Game Music Essentials, dash Spring 22. No spaces. Spring 22. For Deathloop, it's just DL dash, and then the same thing, Spring 22. And if you want the bundle of the two of them, it's BDL dash, you guessed it, Spring 22. Okay. So anyway, thanks again, everyone out there on YouTube land. Thank you for coming. Again, if you want to be part of this, sign up on the Masterclass website, tomsalta.com/masterclass. Take one of the courses, and you can kind of join us here once a month. I hope everyone enjoyed this. I hope you found it informative. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. All right.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.
Thanks, Tom.
All right.
Thanks, Chris.
You got it.
Man, thanks a lot.